Hello guys, my name is Crystal and I'm going to do a fairly quick video on the Louis Vuitton Reggia bag. This is going to be a two-part video, primarily because I purchased the bag pre-loved, I should say barely loved. It's almost in impeccable condition, and I had it verbally authenticated by a certain authenticator who is almost of world-renowned status at this point. I think we all know who that is, but for whatever reasons, I'm not going to say an actual name. So this respected authenticator has authenticated this bag for me. I purchased the bag. I brought the bag home. I love the bag. The minute I got it, I was able to look it over rather quickly, but I did have a little bit of overconfidence because it was authenticated. I had sent in at least 15 to 16, maybe even more photographs. It was sort of dark when, getting dusk when I saw the bag. So I glanced over it, looked over as carefully as possible. I was also talking. Needless to say, I, tossed the bag in the seat and was driving home, really excited about my purchase. And when I got to a red light, I was just kind of looking at the bag and something caught my eye. And I was a little concerned. So I have spent the last 2 days really looking to figure out what is it that I'm seeing and what's going on. So I'm going to do a really quick video. Part one, I'm going to show you this bag in every detail. Remember, again, it has been authenticated. I have an appointment shortly this afternoon with this particular authenticator. We're going to go meet in person. This person received additional pictures from me yesterday and really relieved me and said, no, you're okay. This is a good bag. So just to be safe, I'm going to go meet in person. We're going to do that. We'll get the letter of authenticity, and hopefully I'll come back and do a part two with a really big grin on my face. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Who knows? All right, so I'm going to start really quick. This is the Reggia bag. I'm going to hold it up here a little bit so everybody can see. Let me pull this down just a little bit, and maybe that'll be a little bit better. Okay, so this is the bag, and as you can see, it has that gorgeous red, I think it's called Alcantara. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a type of microfiber interior that they're kind of doing on some of these bags. As far as I know, the Louis Vuitton Reggia was discontinued. Believe that we've been kind of told or under the impression that they're doing that with certain bags to keep them sort of limited, to keep their value nice, to create interest in new product, things of that nature. I'm not exactly sure. I probably won't want to spend too much time guessing. So this is the bag. I was aware that there is a very faint scratch on the Ebene leather trim. I knew that when I was buying it. That does happen on this Ebene leather. It's not too much so that you have to baby it too much, but it's very faint. You can't really tell. And I'm sure that that's just going to be fine. All bags are going to show some character. If you're going to buy a pre-loved bag to save a little money, but also maybe to get it already kind of broken, you're going to expect that. If I had bought this bag completely brand new, it would have had my own character added to it by way of little scuffs or whatever the case may be, probably within a month. So for me, the deal was worth it. I'm not looking for absolute perfection. Okay, so really quickly, Damier Ebene pattern, which is the checkerboard pattern. Notice on the bag, I'm going to go through all the things that I look at and look for, and that certainly the authenticator has looked for. These are things also that I compared specifically to Louis Vuitton's, stock photos, up and close detailed photos of this bag. So you notice the Louis Vuitton name. It is 4 times on the bag, an exact placement. Sides of the bag. If you look really closely, I'm going to try to get this in here so you can see. It has the copyright sign, Louis Vuitton Paris. And then if you notice, all 3 rivets show the lightly engraved Louis Vuitton. The font is perfect. Let me see if I can get that closer so you can see. Excuse me. See, the font is perfect. And it is on all 3 rivets. And I'm sorry for the glare. I guess you're gonna have to trust me on a little bit of it. The font is the engraving, or the depth of the engraving is not super deep. It is not super blurry. It is just perfect, absolute perfection. Notice the stitching, perfect, even. Another thing to look at on this bag that is just an absolute must, notice the damier print, absolute symmetry, perfect stitching all the way across the top, which is something that we all look for to make sure that our bags are authentic. Perfect symmetry. Same thing on this side, of course. I have nothing in this bag right now because I'm about to leave. Looking on the back end, so you're going to see a small spot. The spot right here, I think can actually be removed a little bit. I haven't tried to do so. If it can't, well, big deal. It's the bottom of the bag, and I think we're all going to do this to our bags at some point. It's going to have a mark, a blemish. So there's a blemish, no big deal. For me, I'm going to take a soft toothbrush and try and very gently scrub that out. Looks just kind of dirty. If it's a true scuff and it won't come out, that's okay. It's still, I would say, a 9 of 10 on this bag. The scuffing, do you see on the piping over here? There's a tiny, tiny little bitty scuff right there. It's really small. But the rest of the piping is in actually great shape. Also notice the symmetry of the checkerboard on the bottom of the bag. This is somewhat of a misnomer that I've learned. The symmetry is actually really good. I'm going to straighten this up a little bit. I'm going to pull it in really close and let you look. If you look really closely, you see it's only a millimeter or two off. This is actually not uncommon. In fact, if anything, it's really not off by a hair, really. But because the bag is damier print, because it is a checkerboard, the further back you are, it tends to give almost an optical illusion. So if you notice at the bottom, and this is of course where a seam is. So a seam is a place that your eye is naturally going to draw to and look for that symmetry. So you're going to see the seam, the way it looks back here. You're going to come up really, really close and see that actually in reality that is not very far off. I hope you can see that because I'm buried by the bag. So I can't see if you can see it or not. Okay, so all of those things are, and the reason, let me just back up a little bit, that's somewhat of a misnomer, is that there are authentic bags you can buy every day in Louis Vuitton. You can order them off the website, and there is going to be a slight symmetry, millimeter off sort of issue on a given bag. It maybe not all of them, certainly, but it is somewhat common to actually happen. You know, these bags are very well made, but they are made just like anything else, so it can happen. Let's take a look here. Strap. It's got the 3 adjustable holes. I have it on the middle one. I like this length. It's got a really nice drop. On the inside of the bag, we've got the ebene leather triangle with the nice brass magnetic fitting. Notice also on this that it's got the nice rounded edges, and the stitching is perfect. On the inside of the bag at the edge, the stitching is absolute perfection. There's not one loose stitch, certainly not one stitch out of whack on this entire bag. On this side of the bag, that's the other side of that magnetic closure. Again, stitching is perfection. On this side of the bag, on the inside, you've got the 2 pockets, and it's sort of like one giant pocket with a seam sewn down the center, but that's just my interpretation of it. Yeah, I am right about that. And all the stitching on this particular pocket is perfect. The interior of this bag, I'm going to open it up, is actually in like 9.8% out of 10, or 9.8 out of 10 perfection. This is a really good bag. There is no damage on the inside. However, there is a little bit of dust from use. No major crumbs, but just a little bit of surface. And on this side of the bag, where we have the big zipper, and I'm going to show you all that too, there is actually a little white spot of dirt. Let me get that up in here. You can see that. And that is going to come off with a toothbrush. Thanking some YouTuber for showing us how to gently clean this type of lining with a toothbrush and just a tiny, tiny bit of soapy water. It'll dry really well. So let me get this up in here. And you can see, let's see here. Okay, so we've got the little tag, perfect stitching. Louis Vuitton Paris shows it's made in Spain. For whatever reason, the Reggia is mostly made in Spain. That could be another misnomer, but it seems to me that most of them are. The D-ring, perfectly located on the inside. And we're going to open the zipper, which opens perfectly. On the zipper pull, sorry, I'm sort of in an awkward position right here. Maybe I'll do better next time. On the zipper pull, let's see if you can see that. Get up here really close. That says Louis Vuitton, and it says, oh, my hand's in the way. And it is in, you might have to trust me on this. We did some close-up pictures of this. The font for Louis Vuitton, actually, which is engraved on both sides of the zipper pull, is perfect. Perfect font and perfect depth. And again, remember that's important. At least that's what I've learned, that's important. So let's just remember that. I'm going to sort of yank this date stamp out so that you can see that. It is located on the inside of the zipper pocket in the corner. And if you look right there, it is stamped in red. The date code has been authenticated. It's the right time. It's the right country code. And the zipper pulls really nicely. It is not a cheap zipper. It is a very good zipper. It's got a nice pull on it. So let's go back to the back. Looks really good, huh? I actually really like the Reggia. I love the pleats. It has the pleating. This is almost, there's a few things about this bag. It is somewhat similar in many ways to the Delightful PM as far as somewhat of its shape. Certainly it comes in the damier. It has the big leather shields, which are really cool because it just adds some character to the bag. It has the pleats, whereas obviously the Delightful PM does not. But the shape is sort of there. And this, I think, is the one thing that people kind of love, especially if they're Delightful PM ladies. This awesome strap. It is just one strap. It stays put. It stays on your shoulder. It's just a really comfortable way to carry a hobo bag. So looking at the strap, I'll tell you what my issue was. If you notice all the hardware, the strap looks really good. And let's look up in here and you guys can see the stitching is perfect. It is in a straight line. It is really nice. Looking on the edge of the bag, the edging looks really good, which is that dark sort of chocolate colored glazing. Look over here and notice that that is perfect. Perfection. So the only issue that I had with the bag that I noticed, and what I did notice, was it's actually on the inside of here. This type of leather, and I'm going to make some assumptions here. In manufacture, we're going to find out how they make this particular handle, and it occurs to me that this is just the way that they have to do it. But what I saw that gave me pause was that there is a cut line of leather. So the leather comes back on this back side and it wraps around up through this. So if you follow my finger, and it comes back up here and it has to stop. And Louis Vuitton in manufacture has decided to stop it there. And it is glued and stitched, of course, on the edges. And that is how they do this. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to show you. It's the same thing on the other side. I kind of wiped at it a little bit, so I've got fingerprints, but you can see that's what it does. And then on the inside of this bag, it's the same thing up here. That's where they stop their leather. All the stitching, by the way, is perfection. Absolutely perfect. Let's look up in here. See? So they stop that same little flap right there. That's what I saw. And I've actually just never seen that on Louis Vuitton. I will admit too, I've never owned a Louis Vuitton bag in damier ebene, much less with this ebene leather. So I am very comfortable with Vachetta leather, the patina of it. Maybe not necessarily good enough to know how to care for it perfectly, but the idea is that I understand what that looks like. I'm comfortable with it. I know what it feels like. And I also kind of know the way they wrap their bags with it, whether it's, on handles or anything else. It just makes sense. These are manufacturer details from Louis Vuitton that I'm not comfortable with, meaning when I say comfortable, I mean that I'm not familiar with. So what happens is I look at it and I kind of freak out just like anybody else was, and I think, I've never seen that before. Is this how they do it? Do they actually cut it straight across right there and stitch it down the sides and all that stuff? Well, according to the authenticator, yes, that's exactly how they do it. And one way she proved that to me last night was to send me pictures of her very own authentic Reggia bag that she has actually pre-sold, but it was still in her possession. And she took close-up pictures of all of those exact things on her bag and sent them to me, and they look exactly the same. So I immediately felt 9,000 times better. I was so excited, because that meant that I was right to begin with, and she was right, and we were all right, and the world was a good place. But I'm going to take it to her anyway. I really want an excuse to go visit, and I'd really like to have that paper, so that in the future, if I decide to sell my gorgeous Reggia bag, then that will come with it, which is always a nice thing. I think people really like that. And in the meantime, I may enjoy the bag. For me personally, I'm very small, so a large bag is hard for me. I need to carry kind of a lot of things sometimes, but if you look in here, I just smacked myself in the face. If you look in here, you'll see that this is like an epic size. It is equivalent to the size of the Delightful PM. I don't have measurements. I could be wrong. It's probably a little bigger. It could be a little smaller. But for me, it is more structured than the Delightful PM. I have the Delightful PM. It is a very large bag. It does not have a lot of structure. This, of course, the shields give it the structure. So the bag stands. It stands very well. And when you have things in it, it sits very nicely. It does not, it'll slouch on your body, basically very beautifully. But it will also slouch on a tabletop and retain its shape like so, which is really nice. So I do love the bag, but it is large for me. And the other thing is that I'm enjoying sort of trying out new bags. I'm expecting a speedy 30 in the mail any day. So I'm very happy about that. I can't wait to get it. It is a pre-loved bag, but I wanted to start there to make sure that I enjoy the speedy size. So I'm probably going to play with that for a while. If I may decide to list this one, because there are other styles that I want to try. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, part 1 is done. Hopefully when I come back, I am full of smiles and happy and able to tell you without a doubt that my fears have been quelled. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a bit.